This is a new tutorial on facial rejuvenation, updated from my one that I shot several years ago. Since that time, I've shot a lot of video logs and describing different things, and I encourage you to go to those, and I'm going to probably reference a few of them as I proceed. Basically, what I want to talk to you about is a strategy to make yourself look better as you age. Whether you're late 30s, early 40s, or 60s, 70s, or 80s, I think this is applicable to you, and obviously, when I see you, I can tailor what's important. Let's talk about a few basic ideas. The goal of working on your face is to make you socially, professionally looking better, so what I call the blink effect, which is a video I shot. The idea is not to micromanage small areas. Oftentimes, particularly when women come to see me, they're very focused on fine lines, and there's a video on that as well, tiny little areas, and I want to make it so that when people see you, you just look so much better and natural, and when they look at you, they can't tell what was done. And so the goal for that is what I principally like to do is a fat transfer. The fat transfer is not to make you look fat. It's not to make you look like when you're in your early 20s, and no one wants that. You just want to look better. And so what happens if you understand the aging process is that oftentimes when you go back and look at your old photos, you may think you actually look too full or too fat in your early 20s. Most women in particular like their face in their early 30s. Most men oftentimes prefer that a little bit later in their late 30s or early 40s. So looking at the old photos is not something that I necessarily need to do. It's just something that would really help you understand sort of the evolution of aging from the perspective of volume. So it's something that's very different. It's a no incision approach. So instead of pulling and stretching and making you look like a weird person, I really believe in using those old photographs to help you understand the power of volume. Let's begin with the eyes. The eyes to me are the center of everything, because if you look tired and you don't look fresh and someone says, "Are you tired today? Are you upset?" There's nothing I very much did for you. If I got your neck looking better, I got your folds looking better, but you look exhausted, I've really failed to help you. So one thing for women in particular is moving them away from the mouth and really focusing on the eyes and making someone look more fresh and rested. So how do I do that? Well, we have to start seeing what I call negative space. And what that means is when we see the saggy brow, we have a very strong tendency to think, well, I need those lifted up because I do this and it looks better. But actually, it's far from the truth. If you go back and look at your old photos, and let's take extreme youth, let's take 18 or 20 years old. Even though I said we're not going to get there, let's look at that age and understand what youth is. If you have a daughter or a son, look at their brows. They're fat, they're full, and maybe even too full. But I can almost guarantee that your brows do not sink down. We always think things are falling down. So I haven't done a brow lift in over a year and a half, and when I did one, it was in one lady that really needed it. It's very rare that I do brow lifts now because people don't need this pulled up look. I like the expression, we don't need to lift brows that much because they don't fall that much. And so that's a big difference from what I used to do. Even when you look at eye bags, there's a strong tendency to say, let's go ahead and remove all that fat. But oftentimes, especially in the late 30s, early 40s, and early 50s, it's not a question of too much fat, it's a question of the hollow rim. So the negative space, the emptiness around the eyes. So we lift too much, we pull too much, and the eyes don't have that luxury of pulling. When you stretch and pull them, you look weird. And the biggest problem, the biggest mistake that I see is not even the brow lift, it's the lower eyelid area. When you change the architecture of this little area called the canthus and you pull it up just a little bit, or you pull it in just a little bit, you pull it up a little bit, any of that tiny change alters identity and makes you look very unusual. So what I want to encourage you is to take a step back. If you don't understand this, look at my photos and please come in for a consultation. But I want to change the paradigm, the way we look at the eyes. It's not no longer about lifting, stretching, and pulling it. It's actually what I call reframing the eye, putting volume back in. So what does fat transfer really do? Is it, I've heard, oh, it doesn't last, it's a useless thing. Well, most doctors can't get it to stick. My fat results actually improve over a period of a year. And that's because just like a hair transplant, which I do a lot of here, when you put a little graft in, the graft gets blood supply and actually improves over time. So fat to me is about balance. And so I try to take people away from symmetry and try to focus on one side being exactly the same as the other, because that's usually a concern. It's about how the face is in terms of overall balance. That's the artistry that's involved. So for example, I have a lot of Asian patients that are very wide, and by sculpting the chin and the upper cheek, they actually look thinner after fat grafting, which is hard to believe. Or I've got some people that come in really super gaunt, and they're really gaunt right here, and then if I just put a little volume down here, it looks so much more balanced. So what I find a lot of people say is, can I just have a partial fat transfer? Can I just put in my cheek? And the answer is generally no, and here's the reason why. Two reasons. One, if I just build the cheek up, it looks too cheeky. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't blend into the face. So everything's got to blend. And I want you to start thinking about transition zones. And as I blend it in, it looks so much better. Another video on my video logs is something called the 5% rule. What that means is if there's a lot of little areas that I correct, maybe my fat graft take is 70% one area, 75% one area, 85% one area. But when it's all said and done, the whole face looks better, looks softer, looks better, and looks more attractive. And you can't put your finger on what it is. So that's really what fat transfer does. And in the jawline area, it's very confusing because there's an area here that I call the upside down U, where we start to lose volume right here and right here. It's not the line, and it's not the jowl, or not the fold, it's the emptiness of the front chin. Something that Darla, who's shooting this video for me, all my assistants have seen it, and there's this magical change when we do fillers or fat in that area. It just softens and blends the face in. So these are very complicated areas that I'm just only touching the tip of the iceberg on. I just want to introduce to you new ways of thinking. And when you sit down with me in person, you're going to get it like in literally 5 minutes. But I'm just here to propose the concept so you understand before you rush out and get a brow lift and aggressive facelift. Think differently, think out of the box, and allow yourself to start to understand this from an opposite context, which is hollowness, emptiness in the wrong places that I can do to balance the face. So it's very, very important you understand that concept of overall facial balance, which is huge, huge, huge in terms of delivering wonderful, wonderful results. Then the other concept I want to deliver is the idea of the face like a bed. So the bed is comprised of a mattress, a duvet or comforter, and sheets. So does fat the perfect answer for everything on the face? No. It provides a wonderful foundation for the face where it covers bone, it makes you look better, and when someone sees you, you look so much better. And so that's why when you think about like cheek implants and chin implants, they're not good for aging because they accentuate bone. But as we get older, we get more and more bone exposed. My goal with a fat transfer is to cover bone and blend in the face, soften transition zones. That's what fat does magically well. Where does fat fail? Fat fails in folds, in lips, in little creases and lines. Fat, people say, well, can you just fill that wrinkle? And no, that's a misconcept of fat. Fat really provides a wonderful foundation for the face where it just looks softer and better, but it doesn't fix the little nuances, the little folds, the little creases. Those things are what the duvet and what the sheets do. So the duvet are the little folds, you think about it on a bed. That's going to be a little filler, and I've got temporary fillers like Restylane. I've got permanent fillers like Artifil that I can really do wonderful work on to brush up my fat result and just fill that little area at a year that you may just need a little better improvement. That I feel fat is unsafe if you just stuff a face with fat. It's meant to just contour little areas. And then finally the sheets, the top area where like you've got some wrinkles around the eyes and you've got some areas around the face that you think, well, you know what, that could be done with fat. And no, you can't fill a wrinkle because it's a dynamic problem. So I really encourage you to understand the concept of why Botox is so important. Everyone says Botox is just a short-lived, quick fix thing. It absolutely is not. It's the most important thing you do for your skin if you're past 35 or beyond, even if you're younger. Why is that? Well, let's use two analogies to understand why Botox is an integral component to my strategy to make someone look better. First of all, if you can remember two things about Botox, it's an investment and it is there to cure the skin. It's there to heal the skin. Think of your skin like this shirt. Pretend you and I own this shirt. If you wear this shirt every single day for 5 years, won't it wrinkle? Yeah, that's what you're doing to your skin. If you wear a shirt, it wrinkles and wrinkles and wrinkles and wrinkles. And so it doesn't matter what laser you do, what special cream you bought, you need to stop the movement long enough so the skin will actually heal. So people will say, is Botox one of those things I've got to do for the rest of my life? Well, yes and no. Botox is really about consistency, but just like going to the gym or going to the exercise, your first year is the most important with quality injections like what I can deliver. And believe it or not, you won't feel my needles. I know that's hard to believe, but you won't. If you go through consistent, excellent Botox over your first 1 or 2 years, oftentimes you can scale back and not be so aggressive, and that way I can get the skin healed. please watch a couple video logs, Botox like exercise and Botox like a shirt, to really understand that. Another one called Botox scale. So even if you said, look, I'm not interested in Botox, that's a stupid idea, I don't want it, it's a waste of money, it's a temporary phenomenon, remember, it heals the skin with the first 1 or 2 years of consistent usage. And if you don't understand that, watch those videos, and if you still don't understand it, come in and talk to me. I want you to understand the big picture. Now, will Botox cure the skin? Of course not.